Stop scrolling, because what I'm about to show you might already be sitting in your pocket right now, and you wouldn't even know it. I'm talking about a plain-looking nickel, the kind you spend without thinking. But in reality, it could be a hidden wealth trigger, a silent fortune, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's the scary part. Nobody talks about these. Collectors are fighting over them behind closed doors, while everyday people keep tossing them away like nothing. This is real auction shock. These coins change everything. So listen carefully. Do not spend these coins. Check your pocket now. Check your drawers. Check that old jar, because each coin we reveal today gets rarer, more dangerous to ignore, and more valuable. And trust me, the last one, most people will never even see it in their lifetime. Coin number 1. You've probably held this coin before and didn't feel a thing. That's exactly why it's so dangerous. Because the 1944 with D-War nickel doesn't scream value. It doesn't shine like gold. It doesn't look rare. In fact, in almost circulated condition, with that dull grey surface and faint green layering, it looks tired, worn, forgettable. And that's the trap, because what looks like wear is actually history pressing through the metal. And if you miss this, if you spend it, you could be throwing away $264,000 without even realizing it. Let that sink in. This is not fiction. This is happening every single day. Now rewind your mind back to 1944. The United States is deep in World War II. Resources are stretched thin. Nickel, the metal, is desperately needed for military production. Tanks, armor, war machinery. So the US Mint does something drastic. They change the composition of the 5-cent coin. No longer the standard nickel mix. These coins were struck using 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. Yes, silver. Right there, hiding inside what looks like a basic nickel. That decision, born out of economic pressure and wartime urgency, created one of the most misunderstood coins in American history. And the 1944D? That's where things get serious. Because Denver mint coins from this year carry a specific energy, a certain production stress, a signature that collectors obsess over. Pick it up. Feel it. It weighs about 5 grams, just like a normal nickel, but there's something slightly different in the way it rests in your hand. The diameter sits at 21.2 millimeters with a thickness around 1.95 millimeters. But here's what most people miss. It's not about the measurements. It's about the surface. That gray tone you see, that faint green haze creeping across the metal, that's not damage. That's time. That's oxidation interacting with the silver and manganese, creating a layered, almost ghost-like patina that collectors go crazy for. Most people try to clean it, and that is the biggest mistake you can make. Never clean this coin. Ever. Because the moment you touch that surface with chemicals, you erase the story. You destroy the originality. And just like that, your $264,000 silent fortune collapses into pocket change. Now look at the front, the obverse. You'll see Thomas Jefferson's profile facing left. But on high-value examples, the details hit differently. The hairlines, the sharpness of the cheek, the depth in the eye. Collectors don't just look, they study. They hunt for tiny signals, micro details most people ignore. And then you flip it. The reverse, Monticello. Strong, centered, balanced. But here's the critical detail. Above Monticello, the mint mark. That bold D from Denver. Larger than usual. Placed above the building instead of beside it, like older nickels. This was intentional, a wartime marker. And collectors, They're obsessed with it. Because that mark tells a story of urgency, pressure, and change. Now here's where things get intense. Not all 1,944 with D nickels are equal. Far from it. Most were heavily circulated during the war years, abused, forgotten. So when one survives in almost circulated condition, holding on to its original toning, its natural grey and green layers, it becomes something else entirely. A survivor, a time capsule, a piece of history that escaped destruction. And collectors, they don't just want it. They chase it, quietly, aggressively. Behind auction doors, bids climb fast, but you won't hear about it on the news. You won't see headlines, because the people buying these, they're not flipping them. They're holding, locking them away, waiting. That's why supply keeps shrinking. And demand, it's rising, fast. Because once collectors understand the significance of these war nickels, the composition, the history, the toning, the survival rate, they don't let go. And when a strong example hits the market, it creates tension, silence, then explosive bidding. That's how you get to $264,000 for a coin most people wouldn't even pick up off the ground. So here's what you need to do. First, check the date. Then, look above Monticello. You need that D mint mark. Then study the surface. Do you see that grey base, that subtle green layering? Good. Now stop. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not try to improve it. Because originality is everything. Next step, get it professionally graded. This is critical, because the difference between a regular coin and a six-figure treasure often comes down to condition, authenticity, and preservation. And one wrong move can cost you everything. Most people miss this. They focus on shine. But collectors, they focus on truth, on untouched surfaces, on natural aging, on details that whisper instead of scream. That's why patience creates wealth in this game. Because the people who slow down, who look closer, who resist the urge to fix the coin, they're the ones who win. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Coins like this are still out there, in circulation, in jars, in old drawers, being spent, ignored, lost, every single day. So again, listen carefully. Do not spend this coin, because if you do, you might never even know what you just lost. And if you think this is big, the next coin, it makes this one look common. We're talking about a piece so rare, so misunderstood, that even experienced collectors overlook it. And when they finally realize what they're holding, it's already too late. Next up, the scariest part about this coin is how ugly it looks. I'm serious. Most people would see it, hesitate for half a second, and then toss it right back into circulation like it's nothing. That dull mustard tone mixed with that uneven grey surface. It doesn't look valuable. It doesn't look important. It doesn't look like something collectors would fight over. And that's exactly why people are losing a $253,000 hidden fortune every single day. Because this coin doesn't try to impress you. It quietly waits for you to ignore it. Now imagine this. You're handed change at a gas station. You glance down. You see a worn 5-cent coin. The color looks off, kind of muddy, almost dirty, with a strange mustard gray blend. Your brain instantly labels it as damaged. So what do? You spend it. Gone. Just like that. A life-changing opportunity erased in seconds. This is not fiction. This is happening right now. The coin I'm talking about is the 1945S Monticello War Nickel. And if you're not paying attention, it will slip right through your fingers like it never existed. But once you understand, what you're actually looking at, everything changes. Let's go back to 1945. This is not just another year. This is the closing chapter of World War II. The United States is under extreme economic and industrial pressure. Resources are stretched to the breaking point. Every ounce of metal matters. Every decision at the US Mint is driven by urgency, survival, and war demand. Nickel, the metal, is still too valuable for military use. So once again, the Mint continues its wartime composition experiment. And that's where this coin is born. This isn't your standard nickel. Not even close. The 1945S war nickel is made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese, a combination that was never meant to last forever, but ended up creating one of the most misunderstood treasures in American coinage. That silver content alone should make you pause. Because you're not just holding a coin, you're holding a piece of wartime metal shaped by pressure, designed in chaos, and released into a world that had no idea what it would become. Now let's talk about what makes this specific coin, the mustard and grey toned 1945S, in very fine condition, so dangerously valuable. Because it's not just the year, it's not just the mint mark, it's the surface. That mustard tone you see, that slightly uneven, almost smoky grey layered underneath. That is not dirt. That is not damage. That is natural toning, formed over decades as the silver and manganese react with the environment. And here's the truth most people don't understand. Collectors crave this. They don't want shiny. They want original. They want untouched history frozen in metal. And this exact color combination, mustard mixed with grey, that's rare. That's personality. That's identity. Now hold the coin in your hand for a second. Feel the weight, 5 grams. Diameter, about 21.2 millimeters. Thickness, roughly 1.9 to 5 millimeters. On paper, it sounds identical to any other nickel. But in reality, it feels different. There's a density, a presence, a subtle heaviness that comes from its silver content and age. It doesn't just sit in your palm. It lingers. Look at the front, the obverse. Thomas Jefferson is still there, but in very fine condition. His features are slightly softened. Not gone, just worn enough to show that this coin lived a life. Collectors actually love this stage because it proves authenticity. It proves circulation. It proves survival. Flip it over. Monticello stands on the reverse, but here's where your attention needs to lock in. Above the building, that bold S mint mark, San Francisco. And during the war, nickel years, that mint mark is larger, more prominent, and placed above Monticello for a reason. It was a signal, a wartime identifier, a quiet mark that separated these coins from everything that came before. And collectors, they fixate on it. They study its shape, its position, its sharpness, because even the smallest variation can mean everything. Now here's where things start to get uncomfortable, because coins like this weren't meant to survive in this condition. They were used during a time when people weren't collecting, they were surviving. Coins were spent aggressively, handled roughly, forgotten quickly. So, when a 1945S war nickel manages to make it into today's world in very fine condition with original mustard grey toning intact, it becomes rare, not just uncommon, rare. And rarity creates obsession. Collectors don't just want this coin, they need it, because it fills a gap, a specific moment in history, a wartime artifact that carries both silver value and emotional weight. And when one appears at auction, things get intense. Quiet at first, then competitive. Then aggressive, because serious collectors don't hesitate. They already know what it is. That's how you end up with a market value of $253,000 for something most people would reject based on appearance alone. Let that hit you. An ugly coin, worth more than most people's homes. That's the power of hidden wealth. That's the reality of silent fortune. But here's where people destroy everything. They try to clean it. They see the mustard tone and think, I can make this look better. No, you can't. And the moment you try, you erase decades of natural toning. You strip away authenticity. You turn a $253,000 treasure into a fraction of its value. So listen carefully. Never clean this coin. Ever. Original toning is everything. Next mistake? Spending it. Yes, it still happens. People see the wear, the odd color, the lack of shine, and they assume it's worthless. So they let it go. Do not spend this coin, because once it's gone, and you'll never even know what you lost. Now here's what you should be checking immediately. First, the date, 1945. Second, the mint mark above Monticello. You need that S. Third, the surface. Look for that mustard and grey combination. Not bright, not polished, natural. Fourth, the condition, very fine, means worn, but not destroyed. Details still visible. Structure still intact. And finally, leave it alone. No cleaning, no rubbing, no shortcuts. Then, get it professionally graded. This is critical, because grading doesn't just confirm authenticity, it unlocks value. It tells collectors exactly what they're dealing with. And in this market, confidence drives price. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. These coins are disappearing. Not because they're being destroyed, but because they're being found and held. Collectors are locking them away, waiting, watching the market tighten. And every time one gets removed from circulation, the remaining ones become more valuable. So while people are out there spending them without thinking, others are quietly building wealth. One coin at a time. This is why patience matters. This is why attention matters. Because the difference between pocket change and a $250,000 payday is knowledge. And if this coin shocked you, then you're not ready for what's coming next. Because the next discovery, it's not just rare, it's the kind of coin that makes collectors question everything they thought they knew.